Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Candid Conversations with Coach Pamm. I am Pam McNeil, also known as the Teen Transformer, and I'm here on another Sunday evening to bring you great information and exciting guests. And so tonight I have two out of the three folks that I had anticipated would join me this evening, and I'm about to bring them up. They are Miss Nancy and Miss Patricia. And they are going to be joining me this coming Saturday when we and three other of our colleagues will be hosting a virtual summit. And it is the Parent Empowered for College Bound Success virtual summit. It's the ultimate virtual summit for the parent of a Black college bound youth. And so we've had Miss Nancy on before, we've had Miss Patricia on before. If you guys have been following us or if you are able to watch the replays. And so they are, um, what happened? I just brought you guys on and Miss Nancy, for some reason,
Uh-oh.
she froze.
Okay.
I think she froze. But anyway,
Mm.
they're here with me tonight, and we're just going to have a great conversation that's going to be like a little glimpse, a little snippet for you in the audience to see a little bit of the topics of what we're going to be discussing on this Saturday. And with the host, there
Let's
she
see if this
is.
There
works.
she is.
All right, Miss Nancy, what's going on with your camera? Uh oh, you came in, now you went out. Technical difficulties, what would we be without them, right?
Hey, persistence.
There you
Is
Persistence.
go.
that better? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we
Yes.
can
Hi,
see you, but
Nancy.
Okay,
you're
let's just do this one.
okay. Now you went back out.
Hmm.
Anyway, Miss Patricia, how you doing?
I am doing
While she's
fabulous this
working on
Sunday
getting
Uh,
it together.
afternoon. Absolutely. No, we love
uh,
Miss Nancy. She'll get in here. It's been an amazing Sunday. Very thoughtful, very calm. I know last time I was on, thank you so much for having me. I had my daughter with me. She was here for spring break. She's back at school now. Just finished up midterm. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation this evening.
All right, so introduce yourself again to the audience, Miss Patricia, in case they weren't with us prior.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm Miss Patricia of PathWorks. I've been working to partner with parents to
on
help their
stage.
teens be independent and
Hello.
self-sufficient as they move through high school and into college and into a adult-ready life. So that's what I do. I'm really excited to talk to your audience this evening about preparing for college and looking forward to next week's summit.
All right, Miss Nancy, can you hear us? Can you see us? No, she went back out. No,
Yeah.
you're back in now. Miss Nancy, can you hear us? Nancy, I don't think she can hear or see us.
And I think she's offline now, it looks like. I hope she
Yeah.
hops back in.
All right. I think she was doing well until she went to check on that Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I think so. Technical difficulties.
Yep, yep. So let's start our discussion, Patricia, with a lot of times people aren't sure that their young person is college ready or is
Mhm.
college material or is going to be mature enough to leave home to do a residential, college experience. And what do you say to those folks?
Whew, that is a very large question, Coach Pam. And you know that. I believe parents are the best people to know who their child is. So I'm not even going to try to say what I think other parents feel about their children. But I will definitely say that we want our young people to make good decisions with what they have available, right? And so
Right.
when I think about ensuring your young person is ready to go to college, I tell people all the time, college is not high school, and we understand that. We in our brain, it's not the same. But when our young person leaves our home and moves into their own home, be it a dorm room, they're really not in we as our parents, they're not in our basement, right? They really
Hmm.
truly are in their own life. And so while they're under our roof, giving them opportunities to succeed and to fail and to have non-judgmental conversation with you so that they can then create their own understanding of how to make good decisions, is imperative. So I think as a parent, before we send our children off to college, we want to make sure that they have a process, not just do A, B, C, D, but really a process, a foundation to say, hey, when these types of things happen to me, I know and I'm confident that I can put some things together and pivot when needed.
Right. And I think it goes back, for me, it goes back to it's all about strategy and having a
Mhm.
plan, right?
Yes.
So I think every parent should have a strategy and a plan for their child to go to college.
Mhm.
Now, whether they actually do that, whether
Mhm.
it's actually in the end the best thing for them,
Mhm.
is sort of, we'll deal with that when we get there. But
Mhm.
obviously, you're never going to make a good choice or be prepared and be
Mhm.
ready if you don't set that as the plan in the beginning, right? And
Absolutely.
it's sort of like there's so many of us in our communities that see the value in preparing the kid for a pro athletic career, right?
Mhm.
Even though we know that's like winning the lottery. It's a long shot, right? In
Mhm.
terms of who goes through the whole process of middle school, high school, college to play ball to then be given a professional contract.
Mhm.
But I would never tell somebody don't try to go down that path, right?
Absolutely.
Because there are benefits to being prepared. There are benefits to playing those games. There's benefits for the structure, for the discipline, for what you learn in those processes that are valuable throughout the rest of your life. And I say the same is true for preparing for college. Miss Nancy, are you
Absolutely.
with us now?
I think I'm back again.
All right. So now that you're here, I want to get you into this conversation, but would you reintroduce yourself to our audience?
Okay, thank you, Pam. My name is Nancy Bradford, and I'm the owner of a company called An Informed Parent, where we our goal is to increase the college graduation rate in the Black community. We do that by working with parents. We empower parents with the knowledge about the issues that can either keep their kids in school longer than 4 years or abruptly terminate their college education. That can be
Mhm.
issues as financial issues, mental and physical health, college safety, college preparedness. That's a big one. If they're not prepared to college, it may cause them to be in an extra. I have a friend whose daughter was in college 8 years, and she was
Mhm.
there full time. Okay, full time,
Wow.
8 years. So I'm not quite sure what she was doing because that's something that you can't really ask the parent. Why is your child still in college full time 7 years? That's
Mhm.
that's that's not questions that we ask, do we? We just
Right.
kind of wonder to ourselves.
Well, I
And
think it goes back to again my main thought in these past couple weeks has been about the plan. What is the plan? Is the plan to go to college? Is the plan to graduate in 4 years? Is the
Mhm.
plan to then use that college degree as a stepping stone to a career or the beginning of a career? Or is it a plan? It doesn't have to be, right? I don't
Mhm.
think you absolutely must know what you're going to major in when you go off to college, but you must have a plan for those 4 years. One of discovery,
Mhm.
right? One of
Mhm,
building up your skill set, one of building and increasing your network, right? So
Mhm.
if that's your plan and you go and you do those things and you come out with a degree,
Mhm.
then you can now go on to what is the plan after that, right? I know I was very disciplined, very self motivated. I had a plan. My plan was to be a clinical psychologist. I had real world experience um, in the field, even as a
Mhm.
teenager. And when I got to college and was exposed to other things, I no longer wanted to be a psychologist. My
mhm,
backup plan before I got to college was to go to law school. But then I had an experience the month between first and second semester freshman year, working in a law firm. And I realized then, I don't think this is the reality of being a lawyer is for me. So then
mhm,
I majored in economics
Mhm.
and, got a strong foundation in that. But the one thing I knew when I graduated with a bachelor's degree in economics
Mhm.
was that I was not going to be an economist. But
Mhm.
it still served me well for my future.
Mhm.
So anyway, um, there are just so many thoughts about this. Another
Coach
thing that
Pam.
yes.
Oh, I've got to jump in
Go
there
ahead,
on
go
that.
ahead, jump in here, Miss Patricia.
Is that okay? Because you
Yes,
were
come on.
talking about a
Come on.
plan. Listen, listen. So I respect the idea of going to college and kind of, I'm not saying y'all saying find yourself, but some people will say that. It is 2023. And college is not inexpensive. It never has been inexpensive. But with inflation and with the economy and things like that, now I'm saying that plan that we're talking about, I think we can be more intentional when we go to even our 4 year degree, right?
Mhm.
But I don't think about it as I'm graduating in 4 years and I'm getting my job and then forever. I'm encouraging the people that I work with to think about what tools you need in your career, right?
Mhm.
And even as a middle schooler and into high school, really focusing in on what your young person naturally is prone to doing, learning about their learning style, learning about what makes, I'm gonna call it their eye sparkle. And people laugh at me and like, oh, Miss Patricia, don't nobody want that warm and fuzzy stuff. I'm about to spend this money on this child. But think about it for ourselves as parents. The things that bring us joy, we tend to call them our hobby, but we also see a lot of us leave corporate world, leave these places to start these businesses in our joy. Whereas we have an opportunity right now for our young people to find that early on, to say, okay, what do I'm a natural leader, right? I can draw people together. I know how to take lots of information. They won't call it a data analyst when they're 12 or 15, but that's what they're doing. Those are the
Mhm.
tools. And so being thoughtful, listening, and being thoughtful with the experiences that our young people have as they're growing up. Now, when I'm going to university, it's not just the name or the reputation of the school or the proximity to home. It's more, do they have the program that's going to give my young person, and my young person is in this conversation, is this program giving my young person an opportunity to explore the tools that they do best so they can build those into their expertise to go into the job arena, right? So yes, in 4 years you graduate, God willing, right? But if I
Mhm.
go in knowing that I'm coming here to get these tools because I'm going to do this, I'm going to go into business for myself, or I'm going to go into medicine or the health field, I'm going to go into, any number of things. Maybe I'm interested in IT. I don't know what it's called today, but instead of shutting my young person down or even my own self as a parent being frustrated, like, what is my child going to do? It's more, what do they naturally move towards? Give them those experiences. Now look for programs that help support those tools that I need to go into that industry. Because let's face it, the economy is changing, the job world is changing with AI. There's so many, we don't even know what the jobs are going to be. But if
Mhm.
I have a solid base of tools that I can use that are in my strengths, I build the network that I need while I'm in my undergraduate degree, then the sky continues to be the limit for me. And I don't have to worry about motivation. I don't have to be as concerned about some of those decisions that kids can make in college about things that can take us off track, because everything that I'm doing in school is moving me forward towards what my actual goals are. So I do believe in that plan, but I think the plan is 100% based in really seeking the natural brilliance of our young people and taking that
Absolutely.
to the next level.
And then just to piggyback on that,
Mm,
it's not just what lights them up and what people sometimes call their passion, but it
right.
can be what irritates a young person or what irritates a person, right? So
Hmm.
many inventions are the
Yes.
outgrowth of an irritation. Like, I can't stand the fact that da 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 da. And so somebody
Hmm.
comes up with a solution to that, right?
Yes.
Or folks that go into certain fields are because they're irritated by things. And it's like,
Hmm.
we all know someone in our network who is a natural born. She started a business. She's a natural born organizer. I
Hmm.
don't think it came from her just loving to line things up. It
Exactly.
probably came from an irritation of chaos, right? Like, I can't tolerate the chaos.
Yes.
So I am going
Yes.
to become very organized. So
Mhm.
there are clues all around us every day about the direction in which we should operate at our fullest potential. So, Miss
Well,
Nancy,
let
what you
me
got?
just say that when my daughter went off to school, she got a degree in engineering,
Mhm.
and when she finished and she didn't get an engineering job,
Mhm.
because she got a job in radio sales. That was her
Mhm.
one of her first jobs. And her
Mhm.
grandmother said, "Well, why isn't she being an engineer? She's got." And she said, "I went to school to engineering school to think like an engineer. I didn't want to
Yes.
be an engineer."
Yes.
And so with her skills, her net because she was a natural born networker, and
Mhm.
then you add that, and then she networked all through school with her engineering, and
Mhm.
she's
Mhm.
working her own business and doing, but she knew that, and I'm just thinking, oh, she wants to be an engineer, but she understood what was best for her.
Yes. And
So
then you live a fulfilled life, and you
mhm,
Correct.
contribute to society, and what we want our young people to be, independent and self-sufficient,
mhm,
contributing. We're producers, not just consumers. That's
right,
wonderful.
Correct.
mhm,
I had a thought this morning,
Mhm.
and I'd like you all to for us to discuss it for a moment. We know that good things and bad things are going
Mhm.
to happen in our lives,
Yeah.
obviously, and in our children's lives. So we can and should prepare for them both.
Mhm.
But often we only try to prepare for the good things,
Mhm.
right?
mhm,
So, Miss Nancy, I think a lot of what you talk about is what I would say is playing defense, right?
right,
You
right.
are thinking about the bad things, right? And trying to prepare a defense so those things don't happen, right?
I think about what I want parents to think about are the conversations they should be having with their children about some of these things, about these things that can get in the way of them succeeding. And so that there's a dialogue, that they're not just sent out like raw meat into the marketplace. So
Mhm.
that's what and parents are kind of don't want to talk about some issues, but if you don't talk about them, how can you prepare your child?
Mhm.
And since especially a lot of our kids have helicopter parents, they're very sheltered. So
Mhm.
then they go off into this big world, and they're not prepared. They think everyone is going to do whatever the parents did for them
Mhm.
and going to look out for their best interests. So that's one of my concerns. I've seen, and I always say, you see kids that go off to college and they're bright, and then they come home and they're not quite. You can't put your finger on. They're not the same person, and you really don't know what happened.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So
Miss
Ooh,
Patricia, what do you have to say about this?
there's again, that's a huge point. I appreciate you bringing that to Nancy. Just, we know youth development, human development, there's so much growth that happens just on a neuroscience level for young people going to college. They come back, they are a different person,
mhm,
whether they had good things or challenging things, because they're growing into who they're here meant to be. But I think, in addition to, while your young person is in your home, it's very difficult. I mean, I'm not saying this is easy, but a non-judgmental conversation. My daughter and I have this thing where, as she got into high school and even junior high, I told her, I'm always mama, right?
mhm,
But if something's happening for real happening and you need to talk to me about something, all jokes aside, you tell me. You talk to me plain, I'm gonna talk to you plain. And that took a lifetime to build that relationship, right? It doesn't just happen yesterday.
mhm,
Be very intentional with the fact that there are opportunities for non-judgmental listening. It's not a
mhm,
time for discipline. It's not a time for
mhm,
telling you, I can't believe you did that. It's not a time for, don't you ever do it again. Oh, now you don't have your iPhone no more. It's none of that. It's literally listening. And I'm talking for people before your kid goes to college, but listening to them and really providing, like you said, that, you're at a party, you get some water, you get a soda, whatever. If it leaves your hand, you never pick it up again, as an
not.
example. If
Mhm,
late at night, you call the campus people, let them drive you home. That's their
Mhm.
job. Don't ever feel shame about it. If you feel weird, don't go that way. Go the other way. Um,
Mhm.
like you said, I have and then I'll stop. But here's an example, though. I have a coaching student who's at university now. He's an engineering student, and they didn't allow him to start his sequence with regular calculus. And I know this happens to so many parents who just don't know.
Don't know.
Okay?
We
Mhm.
don't know what we don't know.
Listen, it will impact your whole 4 years. It can give you a ninth semester. It can give you a whole 6 year
Mhm.
because of one course, your freshman semester year, because you don't realize if your program is flexible, meaning you have some wiggle room, or it's inflexible, which is most of the STEM programming, but several of the others that are non-STEM. So just from the personal, keeping your personal self safe and recognizing everyone is not here just for your good, but also the people on your campus, they don't mean you harm, but they are there doing their job. So we have to go in with some understanding of what's an appropriate thing to do and an inappropriate thing to do so that we don't get caught up, because we just didn't know what we didn't know.
Oh, and let me just say one other thing about that, because we as parents have our own triggers. They're as a parent, if I was sexually assaulted, it might be hard for me to talk to my child. So even
Hmm.
as I'm talking about having conversations,
Yes.
parents need to assess what they're bringing, and if they can't have those conversations, to find someone else, a
Yeah.
trusted person. So
Yes.
maybe your school has a school-based health program that
Hmm.
has someone that your child can, because maybe all conversations you can't have,
Hmm.
maybe
Right.
you can't, but that's an
Hmm.
assessment of parent, and again, that's part of the planning we're talking about, knowing who you are so that you can be the best, and director. Maybe it's going to be the
Yeah.
local minister, maybe it's going to be the doctor. So who, if I'm an alcoholic, maybe I can't talk to my child about not drinking.
I
Maybe
love.
there's Al-Anon. So,
Hmm.
Right.
but it's about thinking about how you do that,
Hmm.
and that's what I think is important for planning, and beginning early, because
Yeah.
you don't wait till you're getting ready to drop your child off, open the door, and push them on campus and go, oh, we need to have this conversation. We need to be thinking about this eighth grade, ninth grade, 10th grade, so it's not all bunched up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So now, what do you think are some of the unique challenges that our Black children and our Black parents face in this whole process?
I got a quick one for us to just consider. It's the external expectations. Literally, it's simply, oh, you are a black student, you're going to be first gen. Many of our kids are second gen,
Hmm.
third gen.
Mm-hmm.
Still have circumstances happening on campus, and our first gen young people still have, challenges too. But just the expectation that you're going to speak for everybody that looks like you, that you're going
Mm-hmm.
to have the same ideas that everyone that looks like you. And as a young person walking into that space saying, I feel the weight of the world on me because I have to do this. I'm being asked to do this. I don't want to. I just want to be me. I just want to share my ideas. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a big one. And I think we as parents can continue to impress upon our young people that we want them to be their best self. And so
Right.
what that looks like for them, is a journey, and that we're here to be with them on that journey.
Yep. I think that what you just spoke to speaks directly to even why I thought to bring it up. I remember being a sophomore, taking one of my first core economics courses. I hadn't even declared it as a major, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
majority of people at my school took, the Econ 101 and 102, macro and micro
Hmm.
economics, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so the study for the night before had been, like 30 pages of stuff. And it was, I think, macro. And I got to this page where the title of the column was um, Black Economics. And it started off, Black may be beautiful, but it certainly is poor. And then it went
Wow.
on to list all of these pathologies. And then,
Yeah. Yeah.
matriarchal households and inner city living and da 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 da, and blah, 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 blah. And then the last sentence said, and some of these things may be due to discrimination.
Help me. Help me. Help me.
And so I was livid
Lord.
because now I'm at a top, liberal arts college,
Mm-hmm.
women's college. The majority of people there were well to do, right? And there was such a diversity of Black women on the campus. But
Right.
it only spoke to maybe a handful of people that
Mm-hmm.
might have been a student. But I'm saying to myself, one of the challenges that those of us who had interacted with each other said was there's so many, I've never met so many white people that have never encountered a Black person before,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so I'm sitting there thinking, this is what they're reading as a
Mm-hmm.
definition of who we are. And it
Mm-hmm.
spoke, everything it spoke to was not who I was. And I'm
Exactly.
thinking to myself, this is
Mm.
what they're being indoctrinated to think about me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what you're being indoctrinated to think about yourself.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah.
I
So
had a
fortunately,
friend who was in a sociology class, and they were describing a household. Actually, they were describing a project household with cabinets, closets with no doors. And she sat there. She said, "They're describing my apartment." And how does that make you feel when you're kind
Mm-hmm.
of like a study? You're your
Mm-hmm.
casebook study of what I am. So I understand what you're saying, because she
Mm-hmm.
just felt shocked, because she too was at
Mm-hmm.
it was a private liberal arts college,
Mm-hmm.
and she felt some kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
hmm and so what I was going to say, the only thing that sort of helped me overcome that as a major issue and maybe not turn away from or
Yeah.
did um, what's the word I'm looking for? Disconnect,
Yeah.
right? Was the fact that there were some resources on campus. We had a Black student house, a
Mm-hmm.
place where we could go, and there was an
Yes.
executive director there.
Yes.
And I went over there, and well, first I went and spoke to my professor,
Yeah.
and because we didn't discuss it, that was the other piece of it. It was like we read it, but then there was no time for any class discussion because it was just one little paragraph in 30 pages about a whole host of other things.
Mm.
And so they didn't think it was worthwhile to discuss this. And
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't feel like I got enough, positive feedback or was heard. So then I went and spoke to the person over at the Black Student Center, and they connected me with a upper class person.
Yeah.
And they felt like this was quite a long time ago, but it was certainly sort of an outdated perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So we together drafted a letter to the publisher,
Mm-hmm.
and we got response that the textbook was in its 12th edition upcoming, and that was not going to be in any future editions of whatever. But again, it's like probably two-thirds of every student on that campus had that textbook and read that, if they
Mm-hmm.
did their reading right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
anyway,
Mm-hmm.
all
And
of
it
that
was
to
in black
say,
and white, so it must be true.
exactly. And when it's in a textbook and it's part of what you're being fed, it's like that's the gospel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of the things that our young people have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's what
Mm-hmm.
we know we have as adults have dealt with in workplaces, in housing, in finance, seeking, and all of those kinds of things. But we have to start preparing our kids at an appropriate level, right? To
Mm-hmm.
introducing them how you problem solve, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a function of the critical thinking agenda
Mm-hmm.
that they have to think about these things, then they have to figure out how to problem solve, or what am I going to do in these situations. Hmm.
And know that they are amazing human beings through it
Hmm.
all. That
Hmm.
those external understandings of who they are aren't them. That they get to
Right.
decide and define who they are walking around. And I think we as parents, if it's one thing we do, regardless of what, you may have your own challenges as a human being, like what Nancy was talking about. Maybe there's things that have occurred to you in your life, traumas and others that you feel not equipped to teach your child, how to avoid some of the things that you might have impacted your life. But I would say as parents, if there's one thing we can do, is to demonstrate that we unconditionally love our young people,
Mhm.
that we unconditionally love them because of who they are, not what they do, not what they can do for us, not what they can do for anybody else.
That right
Just the
there.
whole fact that they breathing, they have
Mhm.
a reason to be here, and they are worthy. They're worth it. They're worthy of our love. They're worthy to love themselves, and they're worthy to walk around in this whole wide world knowing that they're important. Because in my practice, if the young person recognizes their strength, look, no, I'm important, doggone it, with all of those microaggressions, with all of
Mhm.
the other tensions and stresses that occur. And there's happy days and not happy days. But if you know that truth, that deep truth that I am important, I have something to say, and I can do it,
Mhm.
hey, then they can overcome those things. They know they have a phone call, you're a phone call away, or that other resource that you've brought into their life is a phone call away. And if none of that is away, they can pray, or they have their own spiritual center that they know at the end of the day, hey, I'm all right, and I'm supposed to be here, and I'm going to accomplish what I'm here to accomplish, doggone it.
Mhm.
I think that's the one thing that we all as parents can do and instill in our children.
Mhm. And
Yep.
the other thing that I have wanted to say about this whole process, that what we learned from the college admission scandal was that it's a game, and
Hmm.
parents don't know this. We don't, they don't know the rules, and I think parents think that this system is there to help them to get their kids into the right college, and so they don't know what the rules are. They don't know how to go about this. And again, the people that abuse that system, they knew the rules so that they could abuse the rules.
Hmm.
And our parents, a lot of our parents don't know some of the simple rules, um, that they need to know in order to get their kids. Because I'm in New York State, and I always tell, in New York City, our school counselors were telling the kids, don't go to an HBCU. They're not accredited. There was a young man who had gotten into Clark Atlanta, and his guidance counselor said they're not even accredited. You need to go to the state university, because I think that our counselors, their goal is to push these kids into these state schools.
Hmm.
They've got their agenda.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I was going to say individuals have individual agendas, right?
right.
They
And
do.
take everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and
Right.
different programs are differently accredited. That is a true statement, but it doesn't mean that that young man shouldn't have gone to Clark, depending on what his degree was. That's for
Well,
sure.
he wound up going to Clark. He now has an MBA. So,
Mm,
she was like, no, you shouldn't go there. You need to go to this school.
yeah.
And it wasn't even the best of the state SUNY system schools.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but we need to be mindful when we get, our parents need to be mindful to understand maybe somebody else has an agenda that's not in their best interest.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ladies, look at the
Yes.
time.
Oh my goodness.
I wanna it's been wonderful. We could go all day, all night,
Mhm.
but, in the interest of time, I'm gonna wrap us up and let our audience know that they can continue with us this coming Saturday, beginning
Mhm.
at 11 o'clock AM,
Mm-hmm.
Eastern Time. We will be, with a Parent Empowered for College Bound Success. So
Yeah.
that's the outcome. When you spend the half day with us on next Saturday, you as a parent should come out empowered so that your child will have college bound success. And that success is obviously dependent on that person, that individual, and their choices that you all make as a family. But if you
Mm-hmm.
have not registered, I'm putting up now that you can register by going to bit.ly/April Virtual Summit.
Mm-hmm.
It's all one word. And do that. If you do that today, there's a bonus offer. Um, the summit is free,
Mm-hmm.
but there is an offer made once you register, and it includes a bonus of a $10 Subway gift card. That bonus expires tonight at midnight. So definitely register for the summit today, and if not today, tomorrow or whenever. But make sure that you're there next Saturday. If it conflicts with your schedule, once you register, there's information about how you can get access to the recording of the summit. But we have a plethora of information for you as
Yes.
a parent. We all are, there's 6 of us in total. We're all speaking to all kinds of different aspects of this whole process, and we don't want you to miss it because again, I say we don't know what we don't know. We're
Yeah.
going to give you some vital information that I think you will appreciate, and then you'll be in our network, and we'll try to stay in touch with you all so that we can continue to work with you and share with you and empower you.
Mhm.
So with that, thank you, Miss Patricia.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Miss Nancy, and I'll see you all on Saturday.
All
See you on
right.
Saturday. Be well.